All right, so Grampy's back, and even though Grampy said that he was not going to ever do another crib board, Grampy said, well, a friend of his showed up at his house with a piece of barn board. And a barn board is just simply that. It's just a piece of board that comes from an old barn. But look at that. That's like 1.5 inches thick, and it was a solid piece. So this one's 21 inches long and 11 inches wide. And she's a little bit of a bow, so I did the same thing, and I put a couple of little birch pieces on the bottom, which unfortunately it doesn't make it super level, so I'm going to have to deal with that afterwards. But I'm down at my friend's place here, who's filming, and I just wanted to show you what Grampy kind of came up with. So I kind of went with the railroad track thing again, and incidentally, this over here, this is a drill press. Grampy learned how to use one right here in this garage. So I came down and I said, okay, by the time you do a third crib board, you do some things a little bit better. I pre-marked the holes, and if you'll notice, it's all pretty level. So I can pretty much set the thing at one exact height and just come down at the same height every time. Not like the other board where I was holding it all over heck like that. So I said, well, I don't want to go doing a lot of 3D stuff this time. So how do I make it a little bit more authentic? Well, I said, well, what do I need for an out peg hole? I mean, obviously it's railroad tracks. And I'm almost finished drilling all the holes out. And I said, well, so I took there was a paint stick. And I said, maybe I could do some carving with a paint stick. So if you look in close at the top, I kind of took the paint stick and I turned it sideways and I cut it off. And I said, I carved out anything that didn't look like a moose. So I said, well, that kind of looks like a moose now. So I think that's a kind of a nice header. I said, but you kind of always need something for the skunk line. And for you crib players out there, if you don't get past the skunk line, PU. And I had the rest of the paint stick. So I said, well, why don't I go make something else? So then I went out and I carved out this little bear from the paint stick. So this bear, I think, is going to go right here on the double skunk line. So, like, again, if you play crib and you don't get past skunk, that's bad. If you don't get past double skunk, and it's happened to all of us, that's double bad. So I think the bear is going to go up here. And I said, well, with a bear, you need something at the skunk line still. So I went and I carved out this. And you can tell from the back of the paint stick that it still has made in Canada. Yay, there you go, made in Canada paint stick. So here's the rabbit. And I'm going to put the rabbit right here on the skunk line, which is right here. And then I said, well, it still needs one more thing. So I have to get the numbers and put them on still. But it needs one more thing. I said, I wonder if I can do it. And I did. You can see the beauty tone on the back of the paint stick. And I made a goose for the start block.
It's a great goose.
It is a good looking goose, right? I was really impressed with the goose. Actually, I wasn't going to singe the other ones until I singed the goose to make the goose look like a goose. So I put I had my headlight on the whole time. So then I went back and redid the moose. So really all that's left with the crib board here is to put the numbers on it, finish drilling the holes in the drill press, and then kind of level it up and add a couple more coats of urethane. And you can see that this is going to be a great little piece for somebody's cabin down here in Newfoundland. All right, so far so good. I'm telling you, this is the last crib board. I don't care how much money you have, millions, billions, I don't care. I will not make another authentically owned. All right.
Hand carved.
And hand carved. And somebody asked me, or I think my boy, I was talking to him earlier, and I show him pictures of these as I'm doing them. And he goes, oh, make me an owl. And I go, you know what? If I would have had more paint stick, I think I would have tried an owl. But I think it's good the way it is. You get the start of the old goose, the kind of the rabbit for the skunk line. The bear is kind of eyeballing you here if you don't make it past double skunk. And everybody wants to go out on the moose. Either way, it's going to make a nice little addition to somebody's cabin. And Grampy got to work with tools. All right, cool. Grampy out.